Hello everyone, I just felt like coming on and doing a quick collector's video here for one of the collectibles I have for Wildstorm. So this is the box set that had the characters from the second Wildcats series that started in '99, and they're all based on the designs by artist Travis Charest. And so I'm going to go over each one just to kind of show you the detail that they had. It was a pretty cool, PVC set. They obviously don't, move. They're not action figures per se, but I always thought they were cool. And as you can see, I have a box version and I have my loose versions as well. So we're going to take a look at each one here. So first up here we have Lord Imp. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, this was, of course, a shocking departure from the way that he looked when he debuted in the original Wildcats. And I believe the one-shot Wildcats Mosaic answers the question as to what happened. It's been so long since I've read it. Something about him ascending, into a Cherubim Lord. And so definitely something that they had fun with. I always got a very Yoda vibe from him when he took on this form. Let me spin him around for a second. Again, it's been too long, so I don't remember what exactly this device on his back did, but it, of course, was Cherubim technology and had to do with whatever ascension he had just experienced. So again, one of the cooler ideas, but definitely a shocking idea when I first saw it. And here we have Spartan, and he has a new costume that's a variation of his classic costume. This one was more like, it gave me a vibe more like militaristic, or almost something like you would see on Star Trek almost. So it was very, very simple, very streamlined, but I liked it. I mean, I'm glad that they kept the original color scheme. Let's take a look at the back here. Again, very simple, but like I mentioned with this set, even in its simplicity, they got a lot of details correct. So, and I guess the only thing that would have made it, just a tad bit cooler would have been like some sort of attachment that would have made his hand glow with his energy blast. So I guess the powers that be were so happy with this voodoo design that it not only got used here, but it also got used for a statue, which I'll show a picture of here. I actually have that statue as well. Something else I'd like to review in the future. But I mean, this was a time when voodoo was embracing her Daemonite half, and so this was a perfect image of that. And I remember the second series having more of they really leaned into the whole covert aspect. So her there with the gun that looks more like a silencer, something that James Bond might use, definitely went with that vibe. And again, I'm glad that they incorporated her classic purple color scheme again into something that's very simple. But it's interesting too, because if you look at this one and Spartans, they do look very similar, so there's definitely a uniformity to it. So another character that kind of had an interesting, new twist added to him during this series was Maul, because as traditionally his thing was he was, essentially like the Hulk. As he would get angry, he would get larger, but he would also get dumber. And so they took that idea and they reversed it. And so he was here experimenting that, what if he decreased his mass, would it make him more intelligent? And that was what they went with this. So that again to me was a really cool concept. And I'm glad that they kept his his basically his old costume. They just kept the color scheme. And this is actually, I believe, from a scene from the first issue of him holding that reader there. But I always say that it was Alan Moore's Wildcats run that really started taking them away from being accused of being X-Men ripoffs, and I think that idea definitely carried further here in this series. And I'm glad, because this team, in my opinion, deserves its own identity. Doesn't need to be compared to them, to the X-Men anymore, even though I know that obviously there was lots of inspiration there. And here we have Zelot. So this one was interesting because of the armor design. It it was more bulky, kind of reminded me. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly, but I need to see if Travis had any hand in Phantom Guard. I feel like he did, but that's just me not doing my research. Sorry, guys. But it always kind of reminded me of that same style. But so it was definitely a departure from her classic look. You know, you don't have the protruding blades, you know, from her costume anymore, but you do still keep her traditional sword, and of course, you know, you got to have the coat of face paint as well. And so even though the armor, you know, is different from what we saw with some of the other characters so far, you know, it still seems to fit, and it's definitely, you know, useful, you know, in her combat and whatnot. So it was a welcome addition to her costume. And here we have Warblade. So he was another one that during Alan Moore's run, they really, you know, tried to do a lot of different things with him and what his powers could really do. I don't remember too much here in this Wildcats volume, how much more of that was explored. I remember a particular issue with him versus Pike that did use some of the ideas from the Alan Moore run. But other than that, you know, it's again a more streamlined version of him. This one is more grayscaled. They've completely omitted the old, you know, blue and with a touch of, you know, where's his green hair? I just realized that. So, I mean, out of all the redesigns, you know, I'm not necessarily unhappy with any of them, but I guess if I had to pick one, this would be the one that I feel like they didn't focus on him as much as they could have compared to some of the others. But you know, I know his look obviously changes again later in his later appearances, but it's always Warblade in the end. And last but certainly not least, my favorite Wildcat, Grifter here. And I'm not gonna lie, back in the day when I bought the original set that I opened here, I only bought it because it had a Grifter figure in it, because as you guys know, I try to collect every official Grifter figure that's out there. I'm not going to get into the customs because I know there's way too many out there, and they're so good and they're tempting. But anyway, that's just my way to control my collecting. But this one, you know, they went more with the, you know, classic spy look, and of course, which goes in theme with this particular series. But regardless of all the dull colors, you can't not have Grifter in his bright red mask, and of course his unmistakable blonde hair. So again, I've kind of been lacking on talking about the detail, but I'm hoping you guys can see, you know, on these PVC figures, the detail is really good. You know, here just the simple little things like he's got a knife on his you know, leg, and he's got the gun belt there. Let me spin him around for a second. But even there, if you see, you know, the bandolier that he's got, I mean, on his belt, and all the little canisters and stuff. So again, this was just a cool figure. Unfortunately, it being PVC, I don't know if you can tell, but his guns are slightly warped. But you know, it's plastic. It's not the hard plastic, so unfortunately, that kind of stuff's going to happen. And so there you have the Wildcats PVC set. It was just something that I had and I'd always wanted to do a video about. You know, I have a lot of other collectibles that I'd like to get to eventually. But when I posted about this at the Wildstorm Universe Facebook group, a lot of people said they didn't even know this existed. So I figured it'd be good to do a video about it and just have it out there. And, you know, you can check eBay, you can check, you know, their websites. And if you're looking for a copy, hopefully you can find one for a decent price. I honestly don't remember what the original retail was for this. I got it, you know, heavily discounted later in life. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please hit like and be sure and subscribe, because like I mentioned before, even though I'm not going to be doing as many videos as I used to, you know, Wildstorm's 30th anniversary coming up in 2022, I would at least like to get something out there for that. So be sure and follow, and until then, we'll see you next time.